Let's move to Shakhed, Cohen and Raviv, who are founding members of a very innovative cultural group called the Tarbut movement that's expanded throughout Israel in schools and communities. They've also trained school artists to teach in schools. And we're fortunate that Shakhed and Ray will share their story and the work they do that's inspired by Maxine Greene. So take it away, Ray and Shakhed.
Hello.
Hi everyone. Shalom.
Shalom.
Shalom, shalom.
For us, it's evening. For you, I guess it's noontime, but
it is. Would you like to start with your video?
Yeah, and then we will have time to chat. It gives the whole intro to the conversation.
Okay, David, if you will. Thank you.
Hello everyone. My name is Shakhed Cohen.
And my name is Raviv.
And we are part of the founding group of the Tarbut movement, which means culture in Hebrew. And we are from Israel. We're excited by your invitation to participate in the conference on Maxine Greene, who is a great inspiration for us. And we will be happy to point out in the upcoming presentation some of the inspiration that Maxine had on us, especially about using imagination in teaching. First, Tarbut is a movement of artist education that we founded 15 years ago and currently has about 300 members who lives in 6 different cities. And in the field of formal education, we work in 21 educational systems. The movement has set itself the goal of developing culture and accessibility to art in the periphery. We settle in the Israeli periphery, integrate and develop cultural and educational institutions there, formal and informal, children, young people and adults from all parts of Israeli society.
9 years ago, Shakhed, myself, and other members from Tarbut movement decided to enter the public education system. We came to school as artists with a background in community activism and informal education. Sorry. Our goal in entering the school was to find a new and significant role for the arts and humanistic studies, whose place in the education system in Israel is getting smaller and smaller. We wanted to widen art studies from enrichment classes only, which are very limited in schools and cities and neighborhoods of underprivileged population, and make it a central component in school pedagogy. In addition, we wanted to connect the school to the community in which it is located and turn the school into a creative and productive cultural institution. Shakhed and I started working at a middle school in the city of Afula, a normal and great public school, thinking that if something will work there, it will work everywhere. In the beginning, we cooperated on a point-by-point basis with specific school teachers and created an art educational project combining arts. Little by little, the method of study we developed became the method of teaching all the humanistic subjects in the school.
In the last 3 years, our involvement in the school has evolved into the definition of a new profession, which is called Eshkol Haruach. The profession connects all the humanities subjects studied together under chapters with a common theme. At the end of each chapter, there is an interdisciplinary project which is used for alternative examination. The profession is taught throughout the 3 years of middle school studies in the scope of 6 hours a week. Together with the humanities teachers team, we managed to create a situation of replacing all the tests with projects based on culture, civil engagement, and art. Also creating original interdisciplinary textbook based on local culture and the interests of the teaching staff. using art as a tool of assessment and learning. Here in front of you is part of the 9th grade book.
In the next few minutes, we will see examples of products and processes we carried out at school, which in our opinion express application of Maxine Greene's ideas regarding the releasing of the imagination. Maxine characterized 3 notions of imagination and wrote about the meaning of their development. The first is the artistic creative imagination. The way we interpret it is making artistic expression accessible to everyone. The second one is narrative empathic imagination, using our imagination to experience the world from the other's point of view. And the third kind of imagination is the practical social imagination, which means the ability to imagine a good society, to come up with a vision of what should be and what may be in our society. And now for the examples, what we see here are photographs made by 7th grade students and their interpretations of the issues that arise from the story of the Exodus from Egypt: enslavement, immigration, and exploitation. Through staging a photograph, the student connects the biblical story to current issues, such as migrant workers, modern slavery, and slavery to technology.
Okay. In the next project, the 9th grade students were required to investigate a current or historical issue of their choice that embodies a conflict between 2 parties, and to represent it in a dialogue that expresses 2 possible points of view in an empathic way. Okay, now Re'i and I will dramatize part of the dialogue written by Nirel and Hannah, 2 15-year-old friends, one Jew and one Arab, who faced their perception of Jerusalem as the home of the 2 nationalities through art. Re'i will play Ahmed, and I will play Aaron.
Let's start. Leave me alone. I didn't came to fight. I came here to pray because if you forgot or didn't know, now is our Ramadan month and I haven't eaten all day and I don't have the strength to fight with you.
Go play somewhere else. It's disrespectful to our holy place.
Disrespectful? If you think this is disrespectful, don't come here, because there are many people who come here to pray for all kinds of religion and not only Jews.
So all of the people from all of these religions will not come here because this is our holy place, the Jews.
We all came here for common purpose. We came to pray to God. So maybe instead of fighting, we try to understand each other.
I have nothing in common with you.
There is a lot, but if you don't try to understand, I'm not like the other Arabs. I realized that I would have to live with Jews for all of my life. Therefore, I accept this fact and realize that we have a lot in common and that we are like cousins.
Cousins? I don't think so. But just so I can even try to understand you, what do we have in common?
First of all, we both pray for the same God, which is actually the most important thing. Secondly, our holy city is Jerusalem. Third, the land of Israel is our country, and we also have common costumes. For example, in both religions, there is a ban on eating pork.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yes, it makes sense that you didn't know, because in both religions they try to incite us against each other instead of trying to bring us together.
So, why did you curse me at first?
I'm so sorry, bro. I've been fasting since morning and I didn't eat anything and I was nervous.
I will also react like this if you did it to me on Yom Kippur, brother. It's fine. Good fasting, brother.
Sorry again, and thank you so very much.
Okay, so now the next project. The next project is a part of a wider project, and he's well known in Israel. It's called the Roots Project, Avodat Shorshim. Roots work takes place in the Bar Mitzvah year for Jews, age 13, and in which the students research their family roots. Our profession has created a unique interpretation of the traditional work, and its highlights is the Family Hero Project. As part of the project, the students will choose a character they want to define as a family hero, research about them, put themselves in their shoes for one moment, experience their life through the other point of view, create a short story about them, then record a podcast. In this picture, before us, we see the smile on the face of student and his mother, Zamir, and who was chosen to be the Zamir's hero. Now, we will listen to the opening of the podcast of Amit Orlov, who chose her great-grandfather, a Holocaust survivor and a fighter in the Soviet army. He is her family hero. We made a translation for you in the white box, so enjoy listening.
מהי משפחתיות? הכל התחיל ביום רגיל לחלוטין בבית המלאכה של משפחת ציטרין. כולם עבדו, תפרו, יום שגרתי. אלא שאז קרה דבר. צבא גרמניה הנאצית פלש לפולין. אני עמית אורלוב ואני כאן כדי להשמיע לכם את סיפורו המרתק של ליאוניד ציטרין, הבן הצעיר להורים ואח ל4 אחיות, סבא רבא שלי. השנה היא 1939.
As an example for the social practical imagination, we bought two projects. The first, what you see here, is a short story combining, we call it imaginative school stories. What we can see that in many of the artistic projects, students express the desire for an alternative, better reality, starting with the level of the relationship in the classroom or at school, and ended in Israeli society and humanity as a whole. These large paintings show revolutions that 8th grade were required to invent. Along with other topics, a preoccupation with technology taking over everyday life stood out. Some of the students presented optimistic revolution in which humans succeed in limiting and restraining the place of technology, and some presented pessimistic revolution, describing a total takeover of technology or virtual reality over society. Another issue that stood out is the aspiration to reach a solution to the conflict between groups in Israeli society and between Israel and Palestine, the peace revolution. A group of female students, some of whom are from Ethiopian origin, described a widespread protest by the community of Ethiopian origin in Israel to promote their social status and to stop the police violence from which this community suffers. Such widespread protests did break out 2 years later.
Okay. So during this short lecture, we showed products from one case study, the closest to our heart, in our school in Afula. But it is important for us to mention that we represent a wider group of school artists. Today, there are 20 other teams working in different schools in Israel. In addition, in recent years, in collaboration between Bet Berel College and Tarbut Movement, we have created an academic certification program for educational artists, and in which there is a specialization for school artists, where they learn creative thinking, developing in varied curricula, artistic language, critical thinking, and much more. The current student cohort numbers 60 students, and we also work together with the college and the Ministry of Education in Israel to provide optimal support for all of the school artists in their first years of teaching, recognizing the teaching crisis, both global and local. So that's all for now. We'll stop here. We thank you for listening, and we'll give time for questions.
Thank you very much.
Wow.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wow.
It's wonderful.
Beautifully done.
Thank you.
I love that we're moving from the theories that we talked about yesterday into the true practice we're all doing all over the world. And we'll have a recording of both days for those who've missed some sessions. Please, questions for our two presenters?
I have a quick question, because I'm hoping other people have take this opportunity to ask you questions. It's rare. It's a great opportunity to meet you. Maybe a tricky question, but in view of the latest changes in your government, how is the funding going to be changed, do you think? Do you anticipate changes in the support that you've been receiving?
Okay, so we're not dependent on the support of the government. We are doing work in the local communities. Also, it's important to say that right now there is a protest for democracy in Israel, and me and Raviv, we are here because we said we're going to be here with you, but we are fighting for for better future. But right now we're not dependent on them.
Okay, thank
But
you.
it's important that we build our program to be, we enter school as teachers, and in Israel, teachers are employed strictly by the Ministry of Education. It's not like an outside program that they can cut funding. I mean, if they want to fire me, they need to fire a teacher, and it's still a big deal. So knowing and seeing all the tensions, and I mean all the political situation is really unstable. So we try to build our thing as independent as possible.
Extremely impressive work.
So John and I both have questions for you. John, do you want to go next?
Yes. Okay. Thank you so much for that inspiring presentation. I'm in a doctoral program right now in educational leadership with a concentration in creativity. And I didn't even realize that there is such a subject area now you can actually get a formal degree in creativity. So my question to you, we read this book, this wonderful book, International Handbook of Creativity, that looks at creativity in different countries all around the world. And I remember the Israel chapter, it was like very positive in terms of the government support. Other countries like Spain, they actually mandate creativity and imagination. And I'm wondering like what the US can learn from this. And like what, in terms of the government in Israel, is this encouraged? Is this, now one thing about this book, they don't have a reference to Maxine, but this book was also published in 2006. So maybe the new update on this, and I see a potential overlap in this field of creativity and also the work of Maxine. But if I could just put it to you, like what is the government reaction to this work? Is it encouraged? Is it not encouraged?
Creativity holds together many different themes together, and I think that the way I interpret Maxine Greene writing, and which is quite similar to the way that we see it, we see a very close connection between creativity and yeah,
אתה יכול להגיד את זה בעברית, נחשוב על זה
חשיבה
ביחד.
ביקורתית, critical thinking, sorry.
Critical thinking.
And political activism, and that triangle is, I guess, it will be more and more problematic, because when they say creativity, it usually will be a kind of like a high-tech technology oriented, the high-tech nation, and so and not how to interpret text, and not how to interpret political situations, and not how to create, and for example, a very big educational war in Israel is about the study of the Bible and Judaism and so on. If it's a critical learning, if it's a creative or creative learning, if the student can interrupt the text according to these days problem and so on. And so yes, they support creativity, but which kind of creativity, in what field, in which connections, in what context, it's a big question.
Yeah, I wanted to move it away from the politics right now and talk about your, often we call, and I know, Shaked, we talked about this earlier, we call them teaching artists. You have artist teachers. And it's taken us 10 years to get to this point to have the conversation. You've grown in 15 years to spread to different cities and things like that. Could you talk about how you certify the artists that are sent into schools and how the program is growing that way across Israel? You and Ray, please.
Ray, you want to start?
Yeah, thankfully we had a thing to build on, because in Israel there is historically a large movement of young people living in the communes or like
communes, living in communes.
Yeah.
Like Shomer Tzair, Drov Israel, it's like Zionism.
It's kind of a renewal of the historical pioneering movement that established the state of Israel. I mean, before it was a state. It's a kind of a renewal of the kibbutzim movement, if you heard about it.
Yeah.
But instead of coming and creating a agricultural commune, we live in cities and create a kind of urban kibbutzes or urban communal settlements. And because that movement existing from around 1980s, so there are institutions and all kinds of programs that we could combine into and bring out our special way or special content, but we had things to lay upon, so it wasn't from scratch.
No, so it was good that you already had the connections. And were the people who became the teaching artists, were they already interested in education? Were they originally artists or teachers? And how did they find out about your organization? Because I know that social media and word of mouth are both very popular here, and people getting involved, but I'm always amazed that people ask, what's aesthetic education? Who's Maxine Greene? Never heard of them. Lincoln Center Institute, or now Lincoln Center Education. I didn't know they had these workshops. So I think it's fascinating to hear for you, for us, it's a new program we're hearing about now. So how you did it and how it spread is quite interesting.
Basically, we recruit like young artists at the age of 18, and we do like the service in the IDF together, and we do community service together, and then we go to the first degree. So it's a movement. All the artist education, the educators are learning the first degree at the first, and then we try to recruit them to work at school. It's not easy, because I think most of us started our career or our way in Tarbut movement thinking we're gonna be artists, and then we are like being convinced and being educated about the meaning of being an educator in the periphery. So it's like a long way of like 6 years, 8 years until you can decide to become an artist educator in school.
Wonderful.
School artist, as we call it.
And how many are there in your program right now in the Tarbut movement? How many artist teachers do you have?
We are around 200
Wow.
people in Tnuat Tarbut. Not all of us working as artist teachers in school. Some of us working in communities, some of us working in informal education, or in all kinds of cultural initiations.
From Tarbut, we have right now 20 people who works as artist educators, and we are recruiting now 15 more. So next year gonna be 6 more schools and 50 more people. But also we're developing a new degree that's gonna what we call new people, not only people who came from the Zionist movements that we mentioned earlier. So I'm building on a wider process who's gonna call like for 60 people who's gonna innovate school in the next like 5 years. That's our project.
Wonderful. Wow. Before I pass it on to
So if I try to sum it up, we start from a very committed small group of friends, of partners that we really like to growing up together in a way, and then according to our experience, now we try to expand it, and we built a certification program which will be widespread, and it's supposed to start next learning year.
That is fantastic. It really is. So I'm just going to ask one question that I think is on the mind of everybody. Do you ever considered having partnerships or relationships with others around the world? Like here?
We have to have lots of partnership. Talk to us. We will. We actually think it's quite important for us to learn from and get inspired by you. So yeah.
That would be great. Okay, Holly, your turn.
Oh, wow, that's great. I'm looking forward to that. And I know we spoke about this before, Shaked, when we talked earlier. There's a translation of Maxine Greene's Releasing the Imagination in Hebrew, and that's how I discovered about you, because of the translator, and he told us about you, and I was, is that widespread, or is that something that your artist teachers are introduced to? Or, I mean, how much of Maxine Greene's philosophy is part of the education system? Just a question of how much does she really...
Very popular among educators, very popular. Yeah.
Great to know.
But thanks to the work of Nimrod Aloni, who translated her, I mean, before that book, I personally didn't knew her work.
Yeah, me too. It was.
But Nimrod Aloni is quite central in as a pedagogy thinker in Israel. So since that book was translated, it's become something to
That was
rely on.
about 5 years ago or so. Maybe we could look into having other articles of hers translated into Hebrew. Let's, get it more in to support you in that.
Yeah.
Really wonderful work that you've done. You're really visionaries, both of you. You seem to have really caught on to so many aspects of how this can work. In the specifics of your culture, how does it manifest differently in different communities? Because I know you're really community based. You really want to attend to the specifics of each community you go into. How is that? Can you give us an example of some of the differences the communities offer you? Some of them.
Okay, I can say that right now in the last year there are a group of immigrants from Ukraine who came to a periphery city in Israel called Nahariya, and all the work there is about asking what is home for them and processing the things that they are dealing with right now, and do it through art. Actually, maybe if I search it, I can send it to you.
Wonderful.
So you can see like the big graffiti, and they also like, learning Hebrew through art, through theater. So that's example that pops up right now.
And the other example you gave was of elders recalling their memories. You work with that as another level, but I think Pam has a question.
I think it's amazing. It's so inspiring, and I mentioned in the chat Talkien Rabinovich, who works in Israel on the border of Palestine and Israel, and developed a deep understanding of musical empathy, and also works with drama. And I wondered if you knew her, or I can put you in touch with her, because it seems to me, and I wondered if you could just elaborate, there must be lots of different camps of people, like kind of communities, absolutely passionate, devoted visionaries working, incredibly hard to make a difference. And we know there's a lot of researchers looking at belonging and what does home mean to young people? There's so many issues in terms of people moving across the globe. There's a lot of work being done by people who look at youth studies. How much are you connecting with others at this point? Is there any connectivity with networks where you are, or do you feel as if you're working kind of in isolation? And in which case, how can we help to connect you up, and to fire up these collaborations? Because what you're doing shouldn't be done alone.
Definitely. No, we're part of a larger network of organizations and communities. There is always work to do, for sure, and there's always help needed. But alone it won't mean a thing. I mean, we have very, very great challenges. So working together and creating those networks is very important to us.
So could you put into
some
the
of
chat?
us, our DNA, it's very important. We cooperate as value for us. It's a value for us.
Yeah. Could you put into the chat your contact or a contact, and I'll certainly introduce you to Tal Hien. It's not unusual that people can be working in similar fields around the corner and you don't even know. It happens everywhere. But that's what this community can help, foster and nurture, are these kind of networks, new networks. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. That was wonderful.